Good evening. 2 years ago, on October 7th, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and other Gazans infiltrated Israel. According to the Jewish calendar, to the Hebrew calendar, Simchat Torah is from tonight until tomorrow night. So it's 2 years ago exactly that these atrocities happened in Israel. The Gazans infiltrated, fired many rockets. It started at 6:30 in the morning. They committed a lot of atrocities, a lot. They burned people alive, beheaded children, killed people, babies in front of their parents, put babies in the oven. I know it sounds very terrible to listen. It's very difficult for me to say it, but it has to be. It had to be said. And so tonight, Wiser, my friend, is sitting with me. And if you listen to my previous podcast, you know that Wiser is an ex-Muslim. And we're sitting together. We're going to go through what happened on October 7th. And we're going to see how it relates to the Quran. Because what happened on October 7th was not just a regular thing. It was Islam. It's a religious war, and we want to explain this to you. So I want to welcome my friend, Wiser.
Hi, I'm happy to talk to you again regarding some facts behind what happened in during the October massacre. And thank you very much again for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thank you. So do you have the Quran in front of you?
Well, I have, yes. We have examples of Quran and all the stuff, I think, to dig into. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So first of all, let's start, with a simple question. What happened? How is it connected? How is October 7th connected to Islam in general?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think to understand this, we need possibly to go back a little bit, look at some historical facts in the past and see what is happening, what has happened. So basically, based on, as I mentioned, if we look at the Islamic, in fact, look at the Islam and what happened through Islam itself, not by, archaeology or historian or scientific way of looking at it, through Islam, the narrative of Islam. So basically, Islam started in a area which many Jewish people and tribes used to live, and Christians. So the hostility between Muslims, especially the Prophet Muhammad, with Jewish people and then Christians, it's rooted just from the beginning while Islam was developing, in fact. So basically, Muhammad was struggling to prove himself and to promote Islam, but existing people which had their own belief and religion, like Jewish people and Christians and others, usually they were not taking him as a true prophet, and because of his manners or the way he was, and he was not taken seriously. Um, Obviously, it was not easy for him. So from the beginning, I mean, in the beginning, you know that Muslims used to even pray towards, in fact, towards Urushalim. So at that time, they were trying to praise some Jewish history, for example, and at that time they were mainly talking about Bani Israel, means the sons of Israel. So it's quite frequent in Quran, the term Israel, the word Israel. Um, and gradually, by time, they got hostile with Jewish people, and they started to look at them in a negative way. Especially, they started to mention them as Jewish or Yahud. So when there is a negativity around Bani Israel or Israelis, they mention about Yahud or Jewish people. So they started a sort of hostility towards the Jewish people, and then it comes to the time that they started wars. So we know Muhammad was a warlord, in fact. So, and he did more than 80 wars during his 23 years of mission as a prophet. So that looks quite a lot, and many of these wars and many of these bloody wars, in fact, happen to be with the Jews or Jewish people. So there are many verses in Quran which started to blame Jewish people, started to blame Jews or Yahud as their enemies. And this happens a lot. For example, there are wars like Badr, which was not directly uh, related to Jews, based on Jewish people, based on Quran or Islamic, in fact, belief. And then there are direct fight with Jewish people like Qinqa or Bani Nazir or Khandaq, where they fought with Jewish people directly, and they killed and massacred them, and they killed everybody, and they took away everything they could, especially and also women and children. And there are lots of really very bloody stories which you can't really read it easily what they did. So there are many examples. So at the end, in the new era, you see that the Muslims, they have kept that hostility with the Jewish people through Quran, through Hadith, and also because they are somehow, in fact, inspired by the Western anti-Semitism. So the Western anti-Semitism also is they are inspiring Muslims to basically boost their, in fact, anti-Semitism and hostility against the Jewish people. This was just a little bit of background in during the history. And remember, their hostility against Jewish people become quite bold when they changed their, when they in the beginning they were praying towards Urushalim, and in some time they changed their prayer towards the direction towards Mecca, and from that point, that hostility became quite clear towards the Jewish people, and there was no basically any more, uh, if I say, charm between the two, between them and Jewish people. Yes, go ahead.
Well, thank you, my friend. So on that day, we want to see how it's written in the Quran. So if I'm talking about killing, do you see something like this in the Quran about killing the non-believers? Because Jewish people and also others who don't believe in that cult, okay, is considered to be an infidel, a non-believer. So do you see anything connected to killing? Because I also have a few verses.
Yes, yes. There are a few verses and more than few, but we can provide you with some examples. For example, in chapter 2, in fact, verse 191, for example.
Yeah, very, very
Yeah,
important, this one. Yeah.
exactly. So if I read you the English translation says, kill them wherever you find them, drive them out of the place from which they drove you. Dissension in greater than killing, and then but do not fight them by the holy mosque unless they attack you, blah blah blah. So basically, it tells them, the first thing it's telling them is to kill them. So there are so in 193, for example, he say, fight against them until there is no dissensions and that religion is for Allah. But if they desist, there shall be no aggression except blah blah blah, which means they want them full submission and full victory against them by, in fact, by killing and lots of aggressions and fights. So there are lots of other examples. But before we continue, remember, in Quran, for example, in chapter 4, it starts about Jewish people, and it starts to telling Muslims that Jewish people always disregarded God, and they are, sinners, and they were lots of things. It has started to become giving Muslims a very negative image of the Jewish people in Quran. It continues with verse 5. It continues with that, and it's all about the Jewish people or Bani Israel or Israelis who didn't listen, and so God, uh, you know, um, uh, 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 punishes them, and this and that. So it always talks about their bad things they have done. It never tries to, in these verses, never tries to praise them and what they have achieved and what the good deed they did. So it's all about negativity about Jewish people. And then in chapter 17, um, it's very interesting. It says, and we decreed for the children of Israel in the book, you shall corrupt the land twice, and you shall ascend exceedingly high. So basically, mm, it's telling that there is a bad punishment waiting for you. And it's always taking the Jewish people, as those who have done wrongdoing on earth. So, and the God is going to give them the final punishment. I mean, it's interesting a story if you go through the Quran and see how negative it is against the Israelis. Yes.
And I also would like to add another verse in the Quran, chapter 9, verse 5.
Yeah.
It says, "When the opportunity arises, kill the infidels wherever you find them." So it's exactly like 2:191. Slay them wherever you find them. I mean, there are many verses of this verse, if you can say it this way. And also chapter 9, verse 30. It's not just against the Jewish people, but October 7th was against the Jewish people also, yes, the Israelis. So it says there, the Jews and Christians are perverts, fight them. So people have to understand, we're talking now about October 7th, but those places in the world that Islam is there and it's going to be a majority, you have to be aware because it might happen there as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you, especially in this chapter 9, if you look at it from verse 5 and the rest, it's all about negativity about the non-fidels, and we know that it's mainly referring to Jewish people, because the Jewish people were dominating at that time the peninsula, at that area. So they were very, in fact, organized. They had, the bureaucracy. They used to be very good merchants, and they had a lot of influence on the, how do you say, commerce of at that time as well. And they were good, in fact, rather than being good merchants, also they were, tool makers, or, these sort of people. So they were quite mm, mm, considerable people, So, but what you see here, you see there are lots of negativity if you look at it. All these verses, as you mentioned, for example, verses 5 to the end, there is nothing good. It's just say, fight with them. God will punish them. They are not, they don't stand uh, any agreement. So they breach all the agreements. They are sinners, this and that. So it's just giving them a sort of negativity about Jewish people, and also, if I say in general, non-Muslims, which sometimes you don't know who he's talking about. Is it Christians? Is it Jewish people? Is it all other people? So, yeah, I mean, if you talk to a Muslim, they consider them all the same. They are non-Muslims. So, yeah,
Yes,
yes,
according to Islam, everybody that he doesn't follow the Quran has to be killed. So on October 7th, let's look at the places of the kibbutzim, okay, that were very close to the Gaza envelope, and also Sderot, where they beheaded people. Can you see those actions in the Quran. Beheading. Do you see the word beheading? Because I have
Oh, yeah. I mean, in chapter 47, for example, verse 4, there is a very, oh my goodness, I don't know how these books can be placed in libraries or schools. I don't understand, to be honest with you. Um, well, um, because this is not just about history. This is an order from God that you know. So it says, let me read you the English verse, English version. So therefore, when you meet the unbelievers, smite their necks, basically cut their necks. Then when you have killed many of them, tie the bonds. Then um, either free them by grace or ransom until war shall lay down its load. So, and it goes and goes and goes like that, and different verses of that tells you what to do with them. For example, killing them, cutting their hands, cutting their necks, um, so many other things. Or about women, how if you
we,
got a yeah.
we're gonna talk about the women, my friend.
Yeah.
So about the beheading, I found 2 verses. I'm sure there
Yeah.
are more. Like you said, chapter 47, verse 4, do not seek peace with the infidels, behead them when you catch them.
Yes,
So this is what was done on October 7th, beheading.
exactly.
Another verse, 8:12, that means chapter 8, verse 12, terrorize and behead those who believe in the scriptures other than the Quran. So
Exactly.
October 7th was in Israel, okay, was against the Jews, and it can be also done other places. Again, it's against all people who believe in other scriptures except the Quran. So that was
Exactly.
the beheading. What about using fire?
Um, well, so in Quran, it's always says that these people are being punished by the fire in let's say in the, they are going to be in hell. So the God will put them in fire. And also there are verses in Quran which mention that uh, you- kill them in any way you can, even by fire. I think I can find it for you, that verse as well. I don't know if you have it in hand or
I've got 22:19, chapter
yeah.
22, verse 19. The reason I'm also today, we got 12, the last 12, 20, sorry, the last 20 hostages, living hostages, we got them back. And one of them on his right arm, you can see that the guy has many burns. It shows. It's got a broken, pinky toe. So he was just left like this, but his hands, you can see that they're color red, but you can see very clearly that maybe they took an iron and hot iron and put it on his arm, on his right arm. But it says there in 2019, punish the unbelievers with garments of fire, hooked iron rods, boiling water, melt their skin and bellies. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's torture. Yeah, it's torturing them. Yeah, in any way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like it's not a book of tolerance. God knows. It's like how can you explain that a terrorist cuts a pregnant mother, a pregnant wife, a pregnant woman's tummy, and takes out the baby and smashes the baby to the floor, or burns a baby in the oven? This is like unacceptable. in any civilized religion. But again, this is not a religion. Okay, let's talk about the women. We know that, women were taken, were abducted, they were taken, hostages were taken, but the women, I'd like to talk about the women.
Yeah, I mean, just before we go there, remember that in Islam, I mean, there are many examples. I mean, we can't really go and bring everything. It's just examples that I'm providing you. Um, Remember that these are quite frequent. For example, there is a verse called Tobe, the chapter called Tobe, verse 5. It says, kill the infidels anywhere you find them, and in fact, take them as hostage. So this is something that possibly you don't really feel comfortable with that. God is asking his followers to go and kill everybody, possibly your neighbors, your, I don't know, nearby tribe, or anybody else. I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't seen something like this in any culture. Even if you go back to Babylon time, there are some atrocities, there are some brutalities of wars, this and that. But in this, in this volume, I'm not sure if, for example, a Babylonian ask another person to go and kill your neighbor if it is not he's believing in other gods or anything like that. So this is in a different scale. In regards to the woman as well, I mean, in there is a chapter 4, which is Nisa, which means women, or females, or anything you want to the iman. I mean, translated. For example, verses 24. It says, if I want to translate it in English, it says, you said it. The women who are married are forbidden for you. I mean, if you are married in a place and this and that, but the women who are your right hand owns. The right hand owns, is a sort of women usually they used to have, and basically it has a special meaning. Means they are available, so you can do anything with them, and it has different meanings. So they usually used to share them as sex slaves, and unfortunately, it's quite common and it's mentioned in Quran, which is supposed to be a moral book, um, um, and it says, for example, such Allah has written for you, lawful to you beyond all that is that you can seek using your wealth in marriage, and blah 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 blah. So basically, what is happening is, if a Muslim goes to a war and they can take women, doesn't matter if they are married or not, they will take them as a slave, sex slave, and they own them. So this is what happened in October 7, and especially with Yazidis. If I don't know if you remember during the time when Muslims attack Yazidi villages in Iraq, they took thousands of women and children as sex slaves. And this is exactly related to the verses which is written in Quran, which example I provided. So there are many others, but the thing is, at the moment, there are 3 to 4,000 women still are missing in Yazidis. So they are sold and they taken over by Muslims, all Muslims around the world. Um, that's a very sad story. So um, I mean, there are evidences, a lot of evidences in YouTube and different channels that you can go and watch the testimonies of in fact, those women which are explaining what happened to them. So these are the things that it's mentioned in Quran, and you can't really deny. Yeah.
Mhm. So, yeah, we discussed rape, using taking hostages, using the women hostages. Like you said, if you catch them with your right hand, the woman is yours. And we saw lots of footages of Jewish women were taken to Gaza and what was done to those women, beheading, burning people alive, hostage taking. All of these. This is what Islam offers.
Oh
This
yes,
is what happened on
it's
October 7th.
yeah, it's all written in Quran and also in Hadith. If you look at the Hadith, there are many examples with details that what they used to do with their enemies, for example, or kuffars, or those who don't believe in Islam, or those who left Islam. So this is very well written, and something which surprises me is how people are ignorant about these things, especially women, um, especially these days. You see a lot of people who are talking about feminism, for example, or they are wokeist or this and that, but in fact, they it seems they don't care. They don't see these things, and this is for me something which I cannot digest. I cannot understand why we are so much detached from reality, why we don't see these things. Yeah.
Do you have any other verses from the Quran talking about what happened on October 7th relating to it? Because I know some verses, like we said, they go again, they repeat themselves, but in a different word.
Well,
What about
the
533? Can you read for us 533?
533. Let me check if I can find it for you. The 533. So the 533. Let me find it for you. The where it is. Just give me a second so I can bring it for you up. Here. 533. Yeah. So 533. Okay. So the English says, the recompense of those who made war against Allah and his messenger and spread corruption in the land is that they are to be killed or crucified, or have their hands and foot cut off on opposite sides. So basically, they used to cut, for example, the right hand and the left leg. Oh my goodness. Or be expelled from the land. For them is shame in this world and a great punishment in the everlasting life. So basically, the God and the Muslims are doing all these punishments in a very harmonic ways. So yeah, it's quite a dramatic scene. Again, I'm surprised how these things are in fact allowed in the Western communities in the West to be published and to be taught and to be distributed even in schools. And I'm really surprised.
By the way, you know that there are more than 20 all kinds of versions of Quran. They're made to be soft, to look like Islam is something good. But I'm asking you because you were there, so you know best. I have another verse, 860.
Yeah, do you want me to read it for you, or?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you mentioned, in fact, 860. So it says that master against them whatever you are able to force, and deters ropes of horses. Deters is ropes of horses, so that you strike terror into the enemies of Allah and your enemy, and other besides them whom you do not know, but Allah does. All that you spend in the way of Allah shall be repaid to you, blah, blah, blah. You shall not be wronged. So basically, yeah, this is, again, this verse is saying that create horror, create terror, um, and and put everything you have to, in fact, ready to make them, petrified, to be, terrified, and you need to spend on that. You need to, and this is how they are doing it. In fact, they are trying to terrify anybody who doesn't believe in Allah or in Islam. Yeah, they are. They have lessons taught in Quran, so they are basically following the Quran verse by verse, and there are many of them, in fact. Yes.
Wiser, I want to thank you. I know it was not easy.
No, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for just it's a short, basically. It was short, but just few examples. There are many in Quran which you need to dig into and really look at it. I really thank you, and I hope we can talk more about these things, especially about how the Muslim wars is treating women and children, unfortunately, especially children. It's terrifying, and I think everybody should know about that. Thank you, in fact.
Well, I just want to finish to end the podcast. Thank you, listeners. Thank you very much. It wasn't easy talking about October 7th, but I hope that it doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. I hope you don't have your own October 7th, but you need to be aware of this. Like they're also saying, also it's against Jewish people, but it says also in the Quran, like 385, any religion other than Islam, which we know Islam is not a religion, is not acceptable. And like 930 again, the Jews and Christians are perverts. Fight them. You have to be careful and be aware. So thank you very much. Until next time.
Thank you again. Thank you. Talk to you later. Cheers.